Okay, so we're going to start our part one of a two-part series of tips for guitar teachers, and I'm just going to share you with some opinions. This is not, you have to do this, but just some opinions and tips from me. About 20 to 25 years guitar teaching experience through our own music school and private teaching and a few other things like going into schools. So I'll give you some ideas on that. Our first part is going to be just strictly on gear because let's face it, guys, we're all gear heads. We all like our gear. Okay, so without further ado, number one is going to be the guitar. If you live in a large city with over 1 million people, you can probably go out there and say, hey, you know something, I do classical guitar lessons, I'm just doing classical. Or you can just say I'm doing jazz or rock or shred or whatever you want. Myself, I live in a smaller population, about 90 to 100,000 people. So you got to run the gamut here. You got to do all styles of guitar and also maybe supplement your teaching with some bass, ukulele, harmonica, anything else that you may have to do to get yourself a full roster for your week. Anyhow, but if you do teach classical guitar as part of your skills, you cannot. It's really difficult to play classical guitar on electric. You might want to just have a classical guitar for classical, but everything else in the styles of guitar can be done, and I do on just this guitar right here, my main Strat for teaching. I actually keep this guitar at the studio just ready to go there. So for a couple different reasons. First of all, it's not a very expensive guitar. So if it gets damaged or played, it's not a it's not a $2,000 Les Paul or anything else. So I'm not too concerned about people playing it and that. The other thing is it's very heavily modified for the sounds that I need for teaching. It's basically, it's got some nice pickups in it. It's got it's an HS Strat, so I can get some heavier duty crunch sounds and lead sounds when I have to, but I also, if I go to my clean sound, I got everything I need from the world of blues, jazz and anything else, and it's mostly beginners, so you don't really need to be shredding their faces off. We're just doing some really basic stuff and learning how to play. So I maintain one guitar so I can maintain the strings and that. And the other thing that's really important is you need a guitar that you're really comfortable with, because you are kind of performing. You got to be at your best. So don't go out and bring different guitars every week and show off your guitars, because it's better just to keep it all simple and just have one guitar to teach with. And if you have to do electric and acoustic, just pick a very versatile electric that you can get some nice sounds out of, and that's what I do for guitars. Okay, next up we're going to talk about not bringing too much gear to our lessons, and strictly talking about the pedal board. So I would leave your two-tier 1978 Frank Marino and Mahogany Rush double-tier pedal board at home. Why? Because, hey, something, for a lot of reasons. First off, we're not teaching our students that, you have to get, to sound like me, you got to have all this stuff. That's not right. And then the parents come at you and say, hey, why'd you tell my son to buy a $260 flashback delay? Anyways, but yeah, it's good if you are teaching someone how to play something like a U2 song and needs delay and that kind of thing. But I would leave all the toys at home and stick to the playing, and if they want to see it, that's great. If not, you start to look like a little bit of a show off, and we don't want to do that. Anyways, that is my tip on too much gear. Okay, so on the same topic, like your pedal board, for amps, you want to just have a basic clean amp and have an amp that has some distortion in it for some power chords and such. You know, if you look behind me, I got some pretty, you know, got some 412s. You don't really need to teach with 412s. We at our studio, we have small amps. And basically what you need to do is keep it clean and keep it powerful when you need to do power chords. But again, falls under the category of having too much gear at the lessons. Anyways, that's my talk about amps. Alright, so if you're leaving your pedal board at home with your beauty strobe tuner on it, you're probably going to need one of these. So I suggest, and remember, these are just suggestions, you don't have to go out and do them. I suggest you just get a really high quality or a nice quality clip-on tuner. Why? Because you should teach your students how to tune. You have to tune, and it's a good way to take breaks, actually, if you have, like, you know, 10 students in a row. Here you go, little Johnny, tune up your guitar, and I'll be back in 2 minutes, because, you know, you have to go to the bathroom sometimes. Anyhow, but teach them how to tune, and basically the good thing about clip-on tuners, regardless of your student having an electric or acoustic guitar, they work both ways too. Okay, so that is the tuner. Okay, the beauty of being a weekly guitar teacher across in the same room is, hey, if I got a buzz or frets or I got problems with my adjustments, you can just hand the guitar over to your teacher and have a look at it. Now, if you're not savvy on repairs, maybe you should get up on some minor repairs, because, you know, it helps out your students a lot. And you know, I'm sorry about your Skype guys, but you can't really do that in a Skype lesson. But you should always keep a nice little toolkit with you. I have quite a large one, but compact enough to stick in my laptop bag. I got an old BASF cassette tape case here with everything in it, from scissors. Little scissors come in handy. This is a little nut driver that goes over my tuning pegs to keep them tight. Spare strings. We'll touch on that a little bit later on another tip. And then everything else, we got, you know, your wire cutters, small Phillips screwdrivers, string winders, drum key, if you need that for your drummer, nail clipper. Enough said. And just basically a very you know, a pile of a lot of tools here, like tweezers to find things, Allen keys, you know what you guys need. But here's one little thing that's a really good tip, is especially if you're a Strat player, if you know how put these down for a second here. You know how Strats, when you're trying to change strings, yeah, sometimes they get caught up in the inside of the bridge. Take an old E string, cut it off with your ball in there, and then use that to pop it out. And that's my tip for tools. Next up, we're nothing without our cables. So have a good quality cables with you always. If you're traveling around and coming to your studio to teach, don't depend on the studio to have cables for you. Bring your own cable. And if you really want to be diligent, bring a small cable for your student, just in case. It just saves time for looking around for cables. The other thing is, have a long enough cable to that you can walk around your studio if you have to get up and do things. You don't want to be pulling your amps over or anything else. And you know, it's just a good idea to use higher quality cables. Don't break the bank, because you may forget them there and then they're gone. But I wouldn't be using anything thin, because, you know, crackly noises and all that kind of thing, it just holds you up and just takes your focus away from your teaching. Anyhow, good quality cables, and bring your own, please. You know, get yourself a traveling music stand. Why? I go to schools where I just walk in with my acoustic guitar and teach some private lessons, and it's just easier to have a really small compact stand that you can carry. Some of them have come in their own cases, and if you're in a studio that has music stands, that's great, but, you know, the more compact the better, and it just makes life a lot easier for your students, for their paperwork and everything as such. And you can also throw other things on there, like your tablets and that, and there's a lot of great attachments these days for all our accessories, like our iPhones and our tablets and everything else. Anyhow, get yourself a nice lightweight music stand, and it'll save your butt. Okay, for my last 3 tips on gear, it's kind of some boring stuff. It's not anything to do with amps or guitars, but it's to do with all the little other odds and ends, miscellaneous stuff that you have to have. You know, make sure you got some pencils, pens, lots of paper. Don't be shuffling around looking for paper. And you're teaching, you know, whatever you teach with, whether it's books or your laptop or any kind of files. Have that all ready to go and have it all nice and compact that you can pack it up real quick and move. You know, sometimes we have to move around studios because based on gears and drum sets and that kind of thing. So if you can move around quickly, that's more beneficial to you. So that's miscellaneous stuff. We're going to talk about you know, bring some extra picks of all different thicknesses, because guess what, you know, your students don't have 100 picks lying around. They probably have 1 or 2, and maybe they left it at home. So always have some picks lying around for your students. It's real important that they and you know, just train them to hang on to them and put them back in their case. And last but not least, bring some strings. Why? Because guess what, they break. Did you know that? They break. But anyhow, yeah, bring some strings, you know, buy a couple cheap sets and keep them with you, because that'll save you to the time of basically teaching a bad lesson for a student that has a broken string. And you know, if you want to be an entrepreneur and you like to make some money, you can always build them back if you have to change a set of strings. But most music stores sell individual strings. So what I do is I go out and buy a set of you know, E strings and B strings. It's mostly the E that breaks, as you guys know. So I get a bunch of 9s. I use 9s, so I just buy 9s so I can use them too. But yeah, individual strings are great, and you can pop them on. And now, as far as you know, changing strings for your students, always suggest to change strings. A lot of them will have dead strings. I have students that have had for, you know, 2 years that haven't changed their strings, and it's a good idea to make a lesson out of changing strings. Don't sweat it if you don't teach that day. Just the string changing is the lesson. If they have to take their guitar to a music store to get the strings changed, they'd have to pay for that too. So just make sure you keep your guys keep your guys well versed in picks as they come flying at you. I'm supposed to be the one throwing it out to the audience? No. I'm a guitar teacher. Anyways, thanks a lot for watching. That was some quick tips and opinions of sharing my ideas. Next, part 2 will be a little bit more practical on what we should be doing in our lessons, or what you can learn from basically your own mistakes. Anyhow, take it easy. Have a good one. We'll see you next time.